I had a take on this. I think I've made like two videos on Stroud, but I think I made another video earlier where I was just talking about all his strengths, his weaknesses. I know CJ Stroud. I've watched every game of CJ Stroud. I've watched a lot of footage on him. I've probably watched more footage on CJ Stroud than some of like the big name analysts that you hear all this stuff from. Um, and a lot of people were very surprised by the score on this cognitive test. Um, This is I didn't think it'd be this bad because that's if you look at everybody else's number, that's historically bad. Um, but I thought it would probably be towards the bottom. He's got pretty much within his game one thing could derail it, and that's his mental. It's all mental with CJ Stroud. He's got the arm talent. He's got debatably the best arm talent and accuracy. He probably does have the best accuracy out of anybody in this class, and could probably be a top like 10 accurate quarterback in the NFL. It's all there. He struggles with decision making. He struggles, and we saw it time and time again at Ohio State in certain games. You would see it a lot more in the games that were his freshman year or the first year that he started. But there were still some issues, and that Northwestern game was really bad. I know the conditions were bad, but that game was really bad. Um, there was the Notre Dame game. You lost Jackson Smith-Njigba, but that's still he didn't play the best game in that outing. Obviously, the Peach Bowl was great. Peach Bowl was the reason that he was in the conversation for that first pick. But at the same time, we can't just judge it off one game. And another thing with the fact with that being is if you look at the receiving core that this guy has, and has had, we're talking about NFL guy, like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, offensive rookie of the year. These are guys that he had. Probably some of the better backs, obviously, like towards the Peach Bowl, they kind of got diminished on backs. But you had backs like Travion Henderson, 5-star guy. Just solid players. He had Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, who's one of the best receivers I've ever seen at the college level so far. So some of his stats are inflated because a lot of the time these receivers, these backs, they're wide open, they make plays. And a lot of the times, the reason Ohio State we wouldn't be blowing people out by as much is because there'd be bad decisions that were made. I could tell he'll miss some reads. He'll miss some reads every once in a while. Like I said, that Peach Bowl was different because he was just on in that game. And that's going to be the big difference for him. That's going to be the big difference that he's going to have to make within that game, within the NFL game when he makes the move to that. Because if he doesn't make that change, then he's going to get eaten alive very early. But yeah, people were shocked by this test. It's around what I thought it'd be. He needs to improve his decision making. He needs to improve his quickness of how quickly he can read defense. At Ohio State, a lot of stuff is handed to him. There's never been in the history of the NFL a good quarterback from Ohio State. It's crazy. Ohio State, one of the longest running college football brands ever, one of the best college football brands ever, has never produced a good, now I'm not even saying great, a good NFL quarterback. Justin Fields has a chance. But still, there's question marks with him. And, in my opinion, he's a better prospect than CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud could be better. But, it's going to come down to, how fast can he read these defenses? How fast can he do that? That's the only thing that's going to hold him back. But, if I'm Houston, I don't know how they're thinking about not picking him, because what else are you going to do in that spot? Are you going to get a guy like Will Anderson Jr.? Is that going to change your franchise? You got to make a play at some point. And, I do get that, you could draft Will Anderson Jr., tank, then get a Caleb Williams or something, but still, that just pushes everything a year back. And, we don't even know. Who knows? Maybe they win like 6 games with a shit roster and they get like the 4th pick. And then there's no Caleb Williams or Drake May. So, I say you get CJ. I was watching the Herd. I liked what he did with they did him and Joel Klatt. They did a breakdown of like their mock draft. I think like picks like 1 through 16. And Joe Klatt had a very interesting. He had CJ Stroud 2, as I think that's going to happen. A lot of people, a lot of backlash on that. A lot of people thinks he slips to somewhere at like 10 or 11. There's been a lot of reports of that. I still think he goes at 2, but if you're the Texans, you have that pick at 12. I don't know. Why not go after Jackson Smith and Jigba? Take him off the board instantly right there. That's gonna be huge for CJ Stroud's career because he's gonna have more confidence with the receiver. He's gonna have a combo. Jackson Smith and Jigba is gonna be 2-3 years from now. He's gonna be an unbelievable NFL talent. He's a dark horse to win probably offensive rookie of the year. Because people forget how good that 2021 year was. But going back to Stroud, segueing back into Stroud. It's going to be decision making for him. He's going to have to really sit down, study. He's going to have to study he's going to have to work harder. And it's not because of his talent. None of this is about, if we were basing this just off raw talent, I think if you look at the size of CJ Stroud compared to Bryce Young, I think CJ Stroud's the most talented. And people are going to be crazy with that, but people say he can't bounce out of the pocket. Did you see what he was doing in the Peach Bowl? Do you see? He's a quick guy. I continue to say this time and time again. People don't know this. His first ever touch that I at least saw, and I think it was his first. I know for sure his first ever touchdown was like a 40-yard run. He's a crazy athlete. It's all there. It's all there. It's just you're gonna have to get down to the books. He's gonna have to study. If he doesn't, it could go very wrong. It could go unbelievably wrong for him. But I believe that he can do it. If he goes to the Texans, it's got to be the right system. If he does fall to like a Tennessee at 11 or wherever they are, it would be him falling in this draft would potentially be the best thing that could ever happen to him. And I say that because if he goes to Houston, he's gonna have about a year and a half, and then there's judgment. If he were to go, Tennessee's the dream spot for any of these quarterbacks. You're going to a good coach. You're going to a good culture. Tennessee bases their offense around the run game with Derrick Henry. That's going to be a much smoother transition. He wouldn't start day one. I go back and forth. I go back and forth a lot on whether I would like, if I'm running the team, if I would like my quarterback to instantly throw him into the fire or sit. And I think it's really situational. I think Stroud is like the epitome of a guy that needs to sit 1 year. Just learn. Sit down, learn the speed of the game, learn it all. But yeah, people like a Hendon Hooker or like Bryce Young as well. These are guys that you throw them right out there. And I say Hendon Hooker because older presence, he's very Kenny Pickett like. I feel like low ceilings, but can still win you games. But I think Stroud has a high ceiling. You know what I mean? Like I said, a quarterback like Kenny Pickett, as good, as much as I think he can help them win. He's what we saw last year is a lot of what he is. That's a lot of what he is and what he's going to be. I think Stroud, he's improved every year since high school. This guy was counted out very early. He had barely any offers, and then he won the Elite 11, proved people wrong. His first half of his freshman year at Ohio State was like historically just not to say bad, but just like not on par with what it should have been. And he said, I'm going to turn this around. They lose that game to Michigan this following year. Everybody's down on Stroud. Everybody, they're saying he's going to slip to the third round. He has an incredible Peach Bowl game, one of the best performances by a quarterback in an Ohio State game I've seen. And what's next for him? What is next for him? It's gonna be he's gonna have to study. But if I'm trusting out of this list, if I'm trusting any of these guys to actually sit down, learn the material, and actually get better, I'm looking at CJ Stroud. He's done it before. Bryce Young's been a winner his entire life. What happens when he starts losing? We have no idea. We have no idea what Bryce Young in a bad organization is. In high school, he was on. All they did was win. College football, pretty much all you do is win. You're Alabama, and you with CJ Stroud, you can say the same. But CJ Stroud has lost a lot. Like he has lost a lot. He lost to Michigan twice. High school was rough for him, as I said earlier. He has had to deal with hate. He's his draft stock out of nowhere, other than this test, obviously, is just slipping off the charts. Because if you look at any analyst, they say that, oh, he can't be great, he can't do this. CJ Stroud continues to get counted out, and he's been there before. He knows how to respond. Guys like Bryce Young, he's been a winner his entire life. What happens when he starts losing? We don't know. We really don't know. Anthony Richardson just is very young, raw. I think he's going to be really. I think he's got a chance to be really good. With him, it's like his ceiling is like through the roof, but his bust potential, his like potential of being bad, he could be like this bad. His floor's low, and it's a high risk, high reward with him. But CJ Stroud, a lot of people, I would say one of the safer picks to make out of these guys. I don't trust Will Levis at all. Anthony Richardson, like I said, it's a gamble. It's like you're playing blackjack. You're more like you're playing roulette. It's going to be a 50-50 with him. Hendon Hooker, he's going to be like Kenny Pickett. Could be a really good player, low ceiling. Bryce Young could be a top 5 quarterback at some point with his abilities and all that, but he's small and he's already had injury problems. Nobody is bringing that up. He was hurt. He was already showing signs of being hurt in college. That never works well in the NFL. That never works well, especially since he's got the small frame already. Like Kyler Murray wasn't getting hurt in college, and now look at him. He can't stay healthy. And they're pretty similar in size. I think it's like an inch. And, it's probably even closer than that. So, I mean, if I look at this list, the safest option is CJ Stroud. The one with the most potential is Richardson. The rawest is Richardson. The one that's going to be ready week 1 and is probably going to have the best rookie campaign is going to be Bryce Young. But like I said, the injuries and the height with Bryce Young concerns me. We'll see. Because obviously, as I said in the beginning of the video, CJ Stroud needs to improve his decision making. Decision making is perhaps the biggest factor to being an NFL quarterback. It's how you read the defense. Tom Brady was so good because he was the greatest pre-snap quarterback of all time. He could read the defense so well before the play even started. And and it's not because he's a super genius or whatever. The guy studied film after film, time after time, put his all into it. CJ Stroud's going to get as much in this league as he puts into it. And that's just what it's going to be. But, to say that this if you know and you studied CJ Stroud, this should make sense. This is his issue. This has always been his issue. The test is not a shock to me at all. He just needs to improve.